Music appreciation 101.
What's good, everybody? It's Scoobert Doobert here for another episode of Love Music More, and I have some really awesome special guests to talk about everything from projects in tandem, growing as artists, meeting people on the internet, the good and the bad and the ugly of the internet. So please, special welcome to Chris and Xuan. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you two doing?
The best ever that I've
Excellent.
been in my entire life.
Thank you. How are you?
I'm not at that same stage, but I'm trying to get there.
Really? You look amazing. Your hair is
Oh,
glossy.
why, thank you. It's glossy
Okay.
because the hot box of heat that I'm currently in, that's just it's radiating. By the end of this podcast, I will be glowing with sweat.
Oh,
So
I love that.
San Diego summer. So I'd love to just kind of hop in and start talking about your projects and kind of what you're up to right now in terms of creating music, and then we'll dig into background, philosophy, and what you got coming up next. So maybe you can kind of give the overview of what you've been working on and what you're currently working on right now.
I've been putting out music under the name Human Barbie for a few years. I have an album out and an EP, and over the course of recording and learning how to put music out intelligently and evolving and performing, I met Xuan, and we started kind of like a sister, brother, cousin project.
Cool. Yeah.
Human Barbie is all acoustic instruments, all analog effects. It's the first album was done to tape, so it's like a lo-fi rock, I guess I would call it.
Right on.
And veronicavon is lo-fi pop,
Cool.
more upbeat, more in the box, but still kind of like that woozy vibe.
I like it. So I actually think that's really interesting to kind of divide the projects from a almost production technical standpoint as well as genre, but obviously the two inform each other. But to have, a tape-based project and then a computer in the box, like on the computer, for those of you that don't know what that might mean, listeners, I think that's really cool. Laptop production, tape production. What made you gravitate towards kind of doing both? Time. I like that. Yeah, it's so much faster to do in the box. That's a good point.
Massively. Although
Mhm.
there are many things that are faster about tape
That's interesting.
as well.
In terms of like decision making, or like because you're having to lay it down to tape, and so there's not that endless loop of let me tweak this, let me tweak that. Is that kind of what you're getting at?
Right. In working with tape, which I did on the first Human Barbie album, was like a 16 track. I did all in my apartment. But there's no room to edit and there's no comping. So when you're done, it's just done, and then you bring it in and mix it, which I mixed it in Logic.
Cool.
There's no editing at all. There's no tuning. There's no fixing. There's no moving anything around. You just move the faders and make it sound cool.
And then on the other side, you have the computer with, endless comping. You're taking the little different takes. Like I saw a Billie Eilish production, a song, and it was like a production breakdown. It was literally every syllable was a different vocal take. I was stunned.
Oh, wow. I mean, I believe it. To get that perfect tape, that perfect sound that we hear now, I just am not sure if we have trained enough as people to deliver that kind of sound in that amount of like vocal training that one would need to sound like that.
I get that. And also it's like a different sound, right? The sound of finding the perfect like syllable or the perfect little microsecond rather than a whole phrase. The performance just sounds different.
It's so different.
Yeah. So
But
I don't,
it's
even if you could sing it, I
interesting.
don't know if it would be the same, because it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of like live music though, when you don't have a chance to comb.
Yeah.
So the motion is, I don't know, and it feels so different when you're in the room, I
Mhm.
think.
I agree.
There's beauty to both.
There is. There totally is. What do you guys how do you approach a vocal session? I'm curious. Like when you sit down, you're like, okay, we're gonna record the vocal. Say we've written the song or whatever. We're gonna record the vocal. How do you approach it? How do you get in the right mindset? How do you know set up the microphone? Walk me through kind of the mentality and the philosophy behind like let's record some vocals.
I'm not doing tape anymore
Yeah.
just because it's annoying, and I feel like I've learned what I needed to learn from it. I'm
Yeah.
sure it'll come back someday.
Mm-hmm.
But now for Human Barbie or veronicavon, recording vocals is much more similar to how I would do it on tape than it ever was before. So if I don't like a take, I'll just undo. And sure, it's there, but I never ever go back. So it's like
Interesting.
track, undo, track, undo. I'll break it up into sections, and there's not much that needs to be done really at the end of a recording session. Maybe it will pick between like 2 or 3 versions of it and just try and get the most natural sounding vocals. Almost also just to protect my time and our time. Now bouncing between 2 projects, it's a little bit of a what they call a content treadmill.
Okay.
Where anytime now that we're not working on a Veronica Vaughn album, I'm working on a Human Barbie album, and then as soon as that's done, we'll switch back and forth forever, I guess.
Yeah. I like that. Yeah, the forever creator journey. I'm curious for on the performer side, like the vocal performer kind of hat that you wear. Do you go through any like routines, like warm up routines, or like you drink this special tea, or you have this special room, or anything like that, or you just kind of jump in front of the microphone and you get it done?
What do you do?
I'll warm up some, but with recording with Chris, I learned a lot. I think before I met him, I was just trying to be on key and sound pretty.
Okay.
I'm not sure there was really a feeling associated with it. And then like listening to music with him and like him kind of guiding me when we record, it changed a lot. And I try to catch a feeling rather than, just always just singing on the right note. So sometimes, I don't know, there may be a little breath that like wasn't expected or something, or a sigh or a dip, or that's, like I said, not written, but it works.
Well,
That's
sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say you were talking about like Billie Eilish's tone.
Yes. Yeah.
And I was like, that's probably how, sometimes you can hear those sounds in certain syllables instead of catching a whole phrase.
It's so true. But I also see how the two can kind of go together, where if you're not comping in that super minutia kind of way, where it's like, I'm going to take this S and this A and we're going to make it saw. Instead, it's like looking at a broader phrase than having, a less technical, more emotional kind of approach on the vocal performer kind of aligns with what Chris was doing on the, production side. I can see that. How those things kind of, they can form each other, I'd say.
Yeah, I love recording vocals so much because you can take like lyrics that are kind of questionable, but if you sing them right, they're an absolute gut punch. And you can take the most brilliantly written song, and deliver it poorly, and you're like, well, whatever, no one cares. So there's like this infinite like colors of what you can do, and we're obsessed with the human voice. And I think this is why, to me, I mean, I'm sure obviously AI will expand and take over the world and do things that horrify and amaze us. But it is, even the voice like emulators are so far from even scratching the surface of the like majesty and expression of what we can do with our voices.
Yeah.
It's just like a window into so many shades of the self. I love trying all different ways of singing to see how, it makes you feel.
That's so beautiful.
That's
Are we writing music again soon? It's getting me all like inspired.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
That's great.
It's true. That was a great way to say that.
Get out of town.
That was beautiful. And I actually I'd love to now talk to you about that Grimes thing that we were talking about just briefly before the podcast.
I'm very curious to hear what happened and how it went.
So for listeners that don't know, Grimes, great musical artist, does a lot of stuff in the electronic world as well. And she made basically this public statement saying, you can use my voice as long as I get 50% of the royalties. Use it however you wish.
Wow.
And then her manager had to figure out actually how to do that.
How to do that.
So they made a website called elf.tech. And on that website, it's really well done. They have all these PDFs and lore documents. It's very silly. It's awesome. And what you do is you upload up to like a minute long vocal recording, and then they vocal transform your voice into her voice. But they maintain the pitch, they maintain the articulation, and it creeped me the hell out. And so naturally I had to make one. And so I'm basically probably 30 different vocal takes of my voice into this microphone, then transformed onto the browser and then imported back into Pro Tools, vocal harmonies, and then I sang some stuff. So it turned into this very bizarre duet where half of it sounds like, wow, she sang it, and half of it sounds super uncanny valley, like something's a little off here, but that was kind of interesting too. And I wrote a song about being scared about the future. And so that's going to come out on Friday.
Sick.
But it was a trip. It was a trip. And then you distribute it through her website. And then they pay you in Ethereum.
Oh, wow. Okay. That actually makes a lot of sense.
Yep. Yeah. So that was my my very recent and then I made my art through Dolly, the AI art generator, giving it prompts and stuff.
I can't wait to see it.
It's a trip. It's a trip.
I need to check in. It needs to be Friday today.
Yeah, I mean, it can be. I'll just send you the file. You know?
It's very interesting.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. It was definitely an experiment. I think it could go farther, but we'll be really curious to hear your take on whether or not it preserves that humanity, because what it is it feels like I'm putting on her vocal cords because it keeps that articulation to a T, like same vibrato, same scooping into the notes, all of that kind of stuff was replicated in her voice.
Nice.
Pretty weird.
That's so crazy because I just read that book, Never Let Me Go.
Oh yeah.
And this applies.
Tell me about that.
I'm embarrassed to say, but it took me a minute. Should I spoil it?
Yeah, you can spoil. If you've never read Never Let Me Go and you want to read it, skip this.
There you go. Yeah.
Spoilers.
It took me a minute to realize that they were clones. I just thought that they were just, teenagers living their life. Anyway, so it's set in the maybe not so distant future where humans are making clones just explicitly to harvest their organs.
Okay.
But throughout the book, you come to realize, I guess, it's kind of a flowery, more poetic version of Steven Spielberg's AI. Because it's like they have souls. That's the, crutch of the book is like whether these, clones have souls or not. That's right. Right?
Yeah.
Do you want to expand on that?
It's so sad.
He thought it was so sad.
Yeah.
And he was like, what's the author's name again?
Kazuo Ishiguro.
Cool.
And he was like, I'll never read him again. And I was like, I thought it was okay. I mean, I wasn't affected as much as Chris, but maybe it's because I'm a clone. I'm a robot.
Oh God.
So it resonates less. It's your story on the page. It should resonate more.
Yeah. That's why I'm like, it was fine. It's my day to day.
Right. Totally. A little boring. But that is an interesting conversation, I'd say, is like whether or not works created by technology or through heavy use of technology maintains that soul of the craft or whatnot. I don't know. What do you think?
Maybe. Probably depends on the song. I mean, there are many songs performed using traditional technology that have no soul. So,
But
This is
yeah.
fighting words, but true.
I mean, well, it goes back to what you were saying earlier about performance and lyrics kind of being so deeply connected. Like if you ever done like a songwriting workshop or songwriting class or whatever, and everybody, if you pass around the lyric sheet, it creates a completely different experience of the song rather than just experiencing the song. Because you're reading it and now it turns into like a different medium. It's still
Yes.
cool, but it's like that's not really what the lyrics are there for necessarily, to be read as poetry. They're there to be in the context of the song. So yeah, it kind of goes back to that point you were making.
in particular, there was like this moment in a Beach House song
Okay.
that made a huge impression on me. And it was the big album, I don't know, 2008 or
Mhm.
whenever it came out, Myths. And it's the song Wishes. And the line is, once in your life. But the way she sings it is once in your life. And she puts a breath in the middle of it for no. You're like, why the hell did you breathe? But the way she breathes, you're like, oh!
Yeah.
And I'm like, that blew my mind. Like you can like
Yeah.
breathe in the middle of a line in a way that like makes people cry.
Yes, that's cool. I get that. And it's breaking like traditional rules of phrasing.
Yeah. I was like, once you know the rules, you can break the fuck out of them.
Yeah. That's a good point. And I wonder if those things are aware. Like I'm curious, like for that, from the production side, do you think they were like, whatever, and then somebody else is like, no, that's the magic. We have to keep it.
I guess we'll have to get big enough to ask them one
There you
day.
go.
Right. Well, we don't have to get that big because we can ask their producer.
Okay, great.
That's special.
It's true. You never know those happy accidents, really. But that's the thing that a human touch would have.
Yeah.
That AI can do.
That's a good point. I agree with that. Because AI is by nature doing things that it's trained on. Yeah. It's
mimetic.
Yeah, it's mimetic. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. I'm curious, like, how you write your songs. Do you approach them from like a traditional way? Do you have different ways that you do it, song to song? Do you top line, where you are writing on top of an already finished instrumental? How do you prefer?
It's also very different processes for the two projects.
Oh, cool. That's neat. Was that intentional, or is that just how it kind of evolved?
It's like the nature of it's built into the nature of the project.
Okay.
Because Human Barbie, I write everything, and then take on the responsibility of finishing everything.
I just sing a little bit.
A
little bit of a tambourine here and there.
Don't downplay. We were just talking about how important that is. Don't downplay it.
No, it's crucial. That's the salt and the cayenne pepper. I write with your voice in mind, though.
Cool.
I mean, I have the band's voices in my mind.
Okay.
But with Human Barbie, I'll write basically all of the music in my head. And I'll know what the chords are, and I'll know what the vocals are going to be, and kind of what the different instruments will be, and kind of the way the vocals are going to sound. And then I'll write all the lyrics.
Cool.
To fit what the song would sound like, and they kind of interact, and I'll tweak things, and then demo and record.
Does all of that come to you at once? Do you kind of have an epiphany of like you get the whole perspective of here's where all of these sonics are going to live and the vibe that you're going for, or is that iterative? Do you like go, okay, I have kind of like a vocal idea, and then as I'm like developing it, then I get the rest of the ideas, or does it hit you like an epiphany?
It takes shape. It takes shape pretty quickly, usually, but once like the kernel, like the nugget of the song is there, how it's gonna sound musically comes very quickly, and then the lyrics take however long they take, maybe a day or maybe 18 months. So
yeah, that's great. And then
what's your
please, yeah, I was gonna ask the same thing.
And veronicavon, some of it we've co-written. Some of it are songs that Xuan wrote completely, and then we just produced together. How do you write the songs that you write solo?
The songs that I write solo, it's usually a melody or a phrase that will start it. And then I have to be by myself and maybe be sad for like a while.
Okay. Okay. Isolation, sadness.
I do like I don't know. And they're not always just sad songs. It's just like I can be very extroverted, but to write songs I really do need to be by myself. So I kind of have to turn away and reflect. But it's so fun when I write with Chris. It's just a completely different manner of speaking. I don't know how we create. Like sometimes it's like solving a puzzle is what I like to say.
Cool.
Like we're literally like, let's make this puzzle today. And then we just fit in pieces. I don't know. They just come out of air. It seems like I think they're spun out of air. But sometimes it's maybe a therapy session and I'll be like, this is what I want to write.
Yeah.
It's like 10% writing, 10% drinking tequila, and 80% us saying, I hate that. No.
Yeah, it's fun. I don't know. It's fun writing with you. I don't know how to explain it.
It's fun writing with you.
I haven't been able to do it with a lot of other people.
I subscribe to this concept of the third writer. When two writers are in the room, they like create this third writer. So that's why it's so hard to like write a song that would sound like together separately.
It's a thing.
Absolutely.
That's so true. I don't know. There's something that like you draw out in each other. And like I said, when I say it's fixing a puzzle, when it's just me, I'm maybe more like trying to understand the feeling.
Yeah.
With him, it's like, I don't know, maybe it brings about like old things that you didn't realize that were in the pot or new things.
Okay. That's interesting.
Does that make sense?
Well, you're approaching it too very differently, like from being, a team versus being highly introspective and alone and in like a maybe more emotionally vulnerable place with the sadness and stuff. Like,
maybe it's so fun. We have a record coming out and I'm curious if people would be able to tell which songs were written.
That'll be a fun game.
That's
a good game. Yeah, for sure.
Because our minds combine. I don't know. There's some vulnerable stuff in there.
Of course. Yeah. But it's different. It is different. Writing together, writing separately. I'm curious on the stuff that you write on your own. Do you like set the stage in any way? Is there like a certain type of room or certain type of setup or like incense or tea or whatever that like helps you kind of get to that place? I'm always super curious about like rituals and like if there are or aren't to kind of like put your head in the right place.
For me, there's not. Although I will say I usually am like crouching on the ground.
That's it. That's one for sure. That's
when we started, but not like in like a fetal position. It's just like, I don't know. It's just how I can sit comfortably. I'm Southeast Asian. They're very like grouchy people. Very squatty people. When I started Dream Girl, I think I was literally cooking breakfast. There's a new song. It's a first single coming out of the album. And the first line is, got a shelf life when you're just a girl. And I literally just thought of that as I was cooking.
Love it.
So,
boom.
They just come. They come. There's fun out of air. I don't know any other way to describe it.
Totally.
You collaborate frequently. How do you find it? Because we're just writing with each other. How do you find it working with different musicians kind of serially?
It's very bizarre. Like my biggest thing is I just have to approach it with like the right mindset of we're going to make something, we're going to release it. Like I have to almost give up a certain sense of no entirely to do it so frequently because it's like, and it usually ends up being really cool, but I almost have to be like, I don't even know what adventure we're about to walk into because it may be one collaboration with that other person on the other side of the world. We'll do like one or two Zoom calls and then make a song, in that and then remotely. And and it's never going to be anything I would have made on my own. Usually never what I expected, even based on their catalog. But it usually ends up being dope, just in part because I think I give up the sense of like it needs to be this certain way or needs to be this certain sound. Then we just kind of shape it as we go. But the cross-cultural stuff is also super interesting to me. Like,
oh yeah,
that is always an interesting curveball, and I'm excited to do more of it. I really want to work with some artists in Africa just because I absolutely love the music that's coming out right now, and I don't know, I'm super super excited to work with more people around the world and learn from them because I don't know, I feel like after every song, after every album, you change as a person, and that's why I like making so many of them, because it's like, I don't know, like you guys are doing that content treadmill. If you're on a treadmill all day, every day, you get pretty freaking strong. And that's part of the idea, flexing the creative muscle. It's tiring.
Oh, that sounds so cool.
It's fun. It's really fun. It's tiring though.
I could definitely sense that.
Do you feel like you get a fresh burst of, like, okay, finishing an album feels like dying almost.
It does.
It's so massive. It takes so much out.
Yes.
Really actually get it done. Always takes way longer than you thought it would.
Yep.
Does working with like different collaborators serially give you a boost to push through, or does it still have that feeling of like, oh my God, I finally made it to the finish line?
Yeah, it's both. It's both. I think what ends up, like, when I end up feeling exhausted is when I like zoom out and kind of like take stock of everything, or when I finish an album. I'm about to finish an album right now, so I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it right now.
Love it.
It's that is like, you're right. It feels like dying because you put so much into it. It's also like kind of a similar feeling when you finish like watching a show that's like 5 seasons long, or like reading a really long book and you get to the end and you're like, I don't even know if I want to finish, because then it's over and like I'll never see them again. It's like kind of feels like that with the albums. Collaborations feel a little lighter because they're usually singles. But there's a pace to it, and I think that the thing that keeps me going is like the energy inherent in the idea itself. Like you were talking about those little nuggets, like you water them and they grow. It's like the potential energy of the thing that I stumbled on, or you guys stumble on, is what ends up like making me do the next one. Because in absence of that little bit that we snag out of the air, I don't know how we do it again, because it's so creatively exhausting. But the ideas, I think, power themselves to an extent. Yeah.
Huh. Break legs. It's gonna be great. On the album.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm excited. I actually, I feel like what I'm trying to do right now. So for a long time, I covered my face, did a masked project and all that kind of stuff. And what I'm trying to do right now is I took off my mask for my promo shots and whatever, but now I'm trying to do it more musically. We're like going deeper and being a little bit more recursive and connecting with my life story and in all of its ups and downs, and also its imperfections in the way that I tell it to myself, and trying to examine that and put that into music now. So that's my current album cycle. We'll see.
Cool. Incredible.
Thanks. Well, I mean, listen to it first, but before you judge.
Your music is good. I'm excited to listen to it.
Thanks. Appreciate that. Yeah. So we've talked about kind of what you're doing now. I would love to talk about your background, kind of how you ended up growing as a musician, what attracted you to music. And I'd love to ask kind of both of you in turn, just take that wherever you'd like. We'd just love to hear a little bit of your story, how you got into this and skilled.
Man, we have kind of different paths, but I feel like it's not karmic, but you're awesome. You're like, we met at the perfect time.
At the right time. The time that we were supposed to meet. I definitely agree.
Yeah.
I've been grinding for years, like so long. I don't want to say the number because then you'll know I'm in my 80s. Man.
Feeling fresh.
and just so many projects, just project after project, learning. And then also the music industry over that time is like transformed radically.
Yes.
And then accepting, slowly letting go of things that I thought needed to be a certain way. And in the past many years, really accepting more like, I have to learn marketing. Well, no, I want to learn marketing.
Yeah.
To do what I want to do,
Yeah.
there are all these micro skills that I had neglected for years and years. And that also means letting go of things that are unnecessary. So I used to gig a lot on bass. I'm like a jazz bassist. I went to school for bass. And then like playing around in a lot of different kinds of bands. And that has shrunk and shrunk and shrunk. And my focus is really isolated on finishing songs and promoting them on Spotify to grow in that way.
Yeah.
Is in as direct and quick of a way as possible. And that has brought back opportunities.
Cool. Yeah.
So for example, we were very, very fortunate to be asked to open for a band called Palace on their US tour.
Awesome. Congratulations.
We were out. It was amazing.
That sounds awesome.
We were out for a month, like playing the biggest shows I've ever played, huge audiences, passionate fans. We made so many new connections and so many new fans. And that didn't happen because of a traditional hustle. I wasn't out there booking. I wasn't playing like local shows. We play like twice or 3 times a year, maybe.
Yeah.
It came because of just focusing on that one kernel of art and then sharing it with the world and then getting really lucky.
I like that though.
But also it's the culmination of
Exactly.
years and years of trial and error and learning and recording. How'd you get here?
I forget. Our stories are so different. Like Chris is just, a classically trained musician, like got his master's in performance. And I went like a different route. I mean, I was always in the fine arts. But I hadn't really thought about making music until I started dating this Irish songwriter. And he was just, mine was a more romanticized point of view. We were together and he didn't think that we could realistically be together. And I didn't know anything about music. And I'm like, oh my God, we'll both be songwriters and we can just like travel together. And like, that's how we make our living. And he's like, that it's nonsense. And I don't know, maybe it's because he said it couldn't be done. I went out and wanted to do it. But it had always been something that I wanted, but I had no relationship to it. Like nobody in my family does anything in the arts. It really felt so far away until I just genuinely met somebody that like does music and even kind of for fun. But it became something that I really wanted. And I just went about it, it was kind of a funny, like a movie, I guess. I'm like, oh, I'm just going to write songs. I'm going to play an open mic and somebody will discover me. And that's like literally what fucking happened.
Cool.
Yeah, I, got on a really label that I don't think is any longer a label in Dallas. But their A&R guy was in LA and they were in their own band and they were really hitting the scene and wanted to make connections, and they found Chris and they like played me his music and they're like, oh yeah, this guy's in LA, like he'll want to do your stuff. And I was like, yeah, this guy's fucking awesome. But you can't really go about it like that. I don't know, like I said, we met kind of on the internet. We went to a Cherry Glazer show together.
What a smash.
Quarantine happened and we were like, what are you doing? And we're like, nothing. And they're like, you want to maybe just like hang out and like write music? And that's how veronicavon was born.
Cool. It's really
different.
Yeah, it's really different. But I believe very strongly in like serendipity and you kind of put it out there, and then there will be these moments where you can walk away from them. It's not a guaranteed, like you have to be together, you have to work together or whatever. But when you put it out there, stuff like that happens where, hey, now we have a project. Or like I was just talking before the call about how I met Sam at my record label. Random, internet,
Nice.
put something out there, said, it would be nice to make this project real. And then
Mhm.
a few things happen in the universe, so then the project becomes more real. But it's like that intention that if you kind of knock on the door, sometimes it opens, and in unexpected ways, and not in like a now you're signed to Taylor Swift's record label or so. It's like it's not like that, but
Right.
instead it's like you meet the right person, and then you can go a lot farther because you have somebody that believes in what you're doing, and you believe in what they're doing, and that's enough.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Man, you've grown also so much since I first became aware of you. So
Cool.
it's really beautiful to watch. It's like when you get into the fast part of the stream, like you really get in the flow of it, and then it carries you. Obviously, there's clearly so much work going into it as well, but that work when you're like in the right part of the flow, that work propels you so much further.
Yes, totally. And I think you bring like a learning mindset to that, and then the pace picks up, and like the thing that leveled me up the most was I got a production gig for a Japanese band called Chai, and that was
Love them.
totally random because I got a song that had no business being in New Music Friday on Spotify, and then it got in there, and then they heard it posted on their story. I wrote them in Japanese in their messages, they replied, and then I remixed, and then I started producing for them. But that was my ultimate, like, okay, I gotta get better now. Like they're a band that I actually really like their music. I don't want to screw that up, so I'm gonna have to like really level up at mixing and all this kind of stuff. And you meeting those moments, I think, end up helping you get into the faster channels of the stream, and being like I feel like I have so much more to learn and so much more to do. So I feel like that helps too. Is like recognizing I'm not a world-class mixing engineer, but damn it, I want to be. So I'm working on it every day.
That's so wonderful.
Yeah, I feel like you're in. I have what you're saying reminds me of a very similar conversation I'm having in my head also all the time with my own mixing. But at the end of the day, if it's on a playlist and people are hearing it, it's like you're a pro. You're a pro.
Yeah, right.
That is a mix that is meaningful to people.
Mixing especially though, because there's like a million different ways you can go, and they're all valid. And so I think that's one of the ways that mixing engineers end up getting in their own heads, myself included, of like, well, I could have made that choice and somebody else would have made this choice, and they're, better paid than I am. And so maybe I went the wrong choice, but it's like, there's not really a wrong choice. It's like the breath in between the phrase, there are infinite choices, and sometimes the one less explored is the actual right choice for that moment. It's
Do you feel like that?
Yeah, go for it.
Sorry.
No,
when
please.
you like finish a song or like write a song, like, do you have that feeling where you just know it's right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. It's like, and it's funny because that moment is in the moment. Like sometimes I'll go back and I'll listen to something later, but I'll be like, the moment's changed. And if I made that now, it'd be different, but that doesn't mean that it wasn't right then. Where like I don't know, it's not just musical taste, it's like everything.
Right.
Preference and growth and all those kind of things aren't necessarily like I'm better at everything now, so if I just remixed all of my old music, it would be better. It's like, no, it just would fit now rather than when it fit then, it was right. I don't know if I'm explaining that very well, but like I feel like music is very much present.
Yeah. I just feel like, to expand that further, it feels like that in like every aspect of the musical process, but also like our lives. Like, especially working with Chris, I'm like, everything just feels right. Like, yes, disagree sometimes, but there's never anything that ever, it's like we're we're grinding to get to the next thing or to
Yeah.
finish something, or like it's painful. Like, everything is just so lovely.
That's great.
Uh,
That's great.
It's just, like, oh, we met each other at the right time. And like
Yep.
this song, like when we're trying to finish this project and we have to write it in this amount of time, like everything just happens kind of naturally.
Mhm.
There's not a lot of fighting.
Mhm.
I think it's kind of cool about, and where
Yeah.
you are now. Like, you're like, oh my God, Chai just dropped in. Dude, your fucking shoe with Chai is so sick.
Oh, thank you.
And it just came in at like the right time. Like it
Thank
was
you.
the time. It's so cool.
Yeah, it was the time. And I like that. I like, it's not to say to like never have friction or not to do like hard things, but there's like a
Right.
certain effortlessness that comes with other things that it makes you feel like, no, that's kind of the path you're supposed to be on. I agree with that. In all things. I agree with that. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Let's basically like maybe one or two more questions. Let's talk about future. Like, what are goals? Where do you want to grow? Maybe professionally as a musician, but also like personally. Where do you want to be like as a creator, as a creative? Are there new skills that you want to pick up? Are there new things that you want to explore? Just gonna loft that over to you and see if any of that lands.
The way the Palace tour happened this year
Yes.
is that I learned so much. Oh my gosh. Okay, so to back up, last year,
Yeah.
we were shooting a music video
Mhm.
for a song called Everything I Never Wanted.
Mhm.
And we were dressed up as vampires, and we were in this little cabin in the middle of the woods, staying up all night. And a dear friend texted me and said, "Hey, do you want to go on a tour playing bass? It's an indie band. It would be at minimum a week, but as long as a month." And it was just that question. And it was like in 3 days, the first show.
Yeah, you have 3 days to learn 90 minutes of music.
Oh
And
my
I knew,
God.
I knew like I have to text back. I have like probably minutes to text back if I want this to happen. And obviously it was a yes. Even though I didn't know what the band was until they sent the music. And it was insane. I learned 90 minutes of music and got on a plane, and I'm like listening
Oh
through
my
and
God,
like
yes.
sure I have it like on the Uber to the like day of sound check
Yeah.
/ rehearsal.
Cool.
But
Cramming for the test.
it was a moment where it felt like, that's magic. You
Yes.
can't make it happen.
Yeah.
I was just like subbing, but I got the craziest voyeuristic, like inside outside view of Palace.
Yeah.
And I feel like it was if it wasn't their first headline US tour, it was one of the first, and certainly one where they were really starting to blow up. And I got to see like
Cool.
the amazement and wonder of their eyes, like,
Yeah.
oh my God, this is really happening.
Yeah. Wow.
And it was also obvious that it wasn't happening because of some traditional grind of like posting 3 times a day on TikTok and like, here are the best practices of marketing your music. Although do those, know about them and learn them. But it's because they were just taking a leap of faith and writing music that is from the heart, and it reached so many people. And then there were gatekeepers that helped them and really took care of things that you just can't do alone. And it really hit me like, I'm not gonna hustle my way to where I'm trying to go. I just need to put the music out, dive in, whatever happens, happens. If magic strikes, if lightning strikes, awesome. If not, also awesome. I went for it.
Yes.
And that's, I don't know, that's where I am.
Yeah.
As far as your question of what's next,
Yeah.
just finish the album and
Cool.
finish the next album.
Great.
Throw them out, market them, and share them as best as we can. And if lightning strikes, sweet.
Yeah, be ready for it.
Long answer.
No, it was good. I'm captivated. I don't even want to answer now.
You have to.
No choice.
You're like future plans. Take a bath.
Yes.
Brush my teeth.
It's too hot for a bath.
I did take a bath the other day. Like I was like, I don't give a fuck. I know it's hot, but I want to sit in some steamy ass water. I don't know. I liked it. It was weird.
Yeah.
It'll switch to cold though. There'll be cold baths. Have you taken a cold bath?
No, not. I've like iced myself, like done an ice bath, but I haven't done like a pleasurable cold bath.
Like pleasurable, like not freezing,
Yeah.
but just if it's really hot,
Yeah,
just like
I'll do it. I'll do it.
Slightly cooler than room temperature is kind of really nice.
Yeah, it sounds pretty nice.
It cools you down.
And then I can use my bath bombs.
Yes. Throw that in. Only if you make that sound when you put it in.
Totally.
Bam, 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 bam.
I am a bath fan though.
That's our future. We want to release an album where every song ends with a bam, 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 bam.
I love it.
He doesn't know that that's our future, but I do. I'm
just barreling towards that future.
Well, now I know.
So everybody keep on the lookout. You'll know it when you hear it.
Definitely.
Well, that's awesome. I'm really excited to hear the record. So please let me know. I'll be following. I encourage all the listeners to follow along as well. I'll put your guys' links in the bio, on the post, and all that good stuff so people can hear the music. For those following along at home, my music is at scoobertdoobert.pizza. That's where you can find my links. What are you guys' handles? Where can people find more? I'll link it up, but say it just in case people are driving and they don't have a chance.
Sure. Find us at The Real Human Barbie and at VV So Hot. And if you find either one of those, you'll find the other one of us.
Yes, that's a good point. Right.
We're brother, sister, cousins.
Brother, sister, cousins. All of the above.
Yeah. Mother, daughter, father, son. That's us.
We are our own father.
Time travel arc. Well, thank you both so much for joining. Is there anything else you want to leave the listeners on? Any parting wisdom, favorite quote?
Just remember that you really rock and you kick major butt. So just keep doing that. And that's dope.
I needed to hear that. Thank you.
You were so lovely.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you both so much.
This is a treat.
I really appreciate it. Until next time, we'll have to do another one after you drop the record. We can talk about everything that went into it.
6.
See you guys. Bye.
Bye. Thanks so much.
Peace. Be well.